Good to go. Okay. Is there anybody who doesn't know who I am?
Charles might not.
One guy? Yeah. My name is Chad Holdorf. I am now a detective sergeant. Just happened this week. So,
Where's all the stripes?
they gave me a new badge. You can actually read this one. My old one was pretty crusty. It was not legible anymore. They just created that position, so I was promoted this week. I've been a detective with the Sheriff's Department for 16 years, something like that. Been with the Sheriff's Department for over 20. I was the SWAT commander for, what do we figure out that was? 12, 13, 14 years?
13 or 14.
Something like that.
That said black man, I didn't look at it.
And as part of, I've stepped down from that role now and try to transition to some new guys and as the old guys filter out. But as part of that, one of the things I did was instruct. And I started out by instructing for our guys, active shooter response, teaching cops how to go in and take care of an active shooter problem. Over the years, that has also transferred into teaching the public and groups like you guys what their roles are and how to respond to active shooters. So this is, you will notice it says introduction, all right? Nobody's going to become a master instructor after this, hopefully less than an hour training. But we're going to try and give you a pretty good idea of what this stuff is about. Our law enforcement and EMS work so well together, and this is just another extension of this. This is just another step forward. In the past, we've taught this a couple of times to you guys. Is there anybody that has, there's a couple that haven't had it, but not many. Most everybody else has had it once or twice. We taught it at every fire department. We taught it at all the EMS, and all of our guys have had some version of this training at one point or another. So it's all about trying to get everybody on the same page. So that's me, that's my 3 roles. That's 95% is on that side over there. I'm sitting at my desk, that's what I do. And then instructing in SWAT. You guys don't need to have a whole bunch of history on me. One of the things to know that is I used to be an EMT. Teddy Kook and I went to EMT training together, if you can imagine that. What fun. That would have been in probably 98, 99, somewhere in there. And I ran with Princeton for a little while, not long, just didn't have time. But I was certified and registered as an EMT. And then after 5-6 years, I just let it lapse because I just didn't have time to keep up all 3 certifications. So fire, EMS, and law enforcement, hazmat, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much, if it is bad and it happens, I'm generally around. So the first thing we need to talk about is the law enforcement response to active shooter. So originally, what cops would do is there was somebody in a building with a gun, they would secure the scene and they'd wait for the SWAT team. Okay, that's just how you did it. And then the SWAT team would come, and those were a bunch of knuckle-dragging guys that they only let out at night, that were generally monsters that would come through and they would kick in the door and go in and grab the guy out. And it was that way for a long, long, long time. Then, we had Columbine. So when Columbine happened, that was still the general practice. Surround it, shut it down, wait for the SWAT team to get there. Well, after Columbine happened, there was a national shift. Well, holy cow. They were in there killing these kids, and we didn't do anything about it. So that's got to change. So what they did is they developed a plan where officers would go in 4-man teams. Get your 4 guys there, you form up at the door, and you go direct to threat. Direct to threat meaning you have to stop the killing. Every time that guy pulls his trigger, somebody else is going to die. You have to stop that from happening. okay? So, myself, a couple other guys went to instructor training, we came back to our guys, and we were like, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna form up 4-man teams, and we are going to go in and get the bad guys. And a lot of our guys, early on, were like, yeah, no, that's SWAT guys do that. We don't do that. We write tickets and stuff, and like, we don't do that. And we were like, no, you kind of do now. And there was a little bit of pushback, especially from the guys that have been around for a while, because it was a shift. But we did the training, we got through it, and we just trained and trained and trained and trained, and pretty much it was just kind of commonplace. That's what everybody did. So that's kind of what it looks like. Diamond formation. There's one guy out front, 2 on each side, and 1 to the rear as a rear guard. All right. We did that for a long time. That's just the way it was. And it didn't matter where you went. Every cop everywhere knew exactly what the diamond formation was. Then there was another shift. Sandy Hook. So Sandy Hook, when that happened, those guys did exactly what they were supposed to do. The first guy got there, the second guy got there, and they waited at that door for their partners to get there. Well, it's a small town, a little bit rural area. It took some time for people to get there. So they didn't have their 4-man team right away. And nationally, law enforcement went, yeah, that's not going to cut it anymore. So sent us back to training again, and on a national level, law enforcement kind of said, okay, you get to that door and somebody's shooting inside, go get them. Alone, maybe. If you got 2, great. We're not waiting around. And so I had the pleasure of going back to our guys and saying, hey, guess what? And nobody batted an eye. Nobody raised a stink, nobody raised a fuss. Because nobody wants to be the guy at the door waiting while people are inside getting killed. So we started then training single officer and 2 officer responses using some of the same techniques, but you're going in by yourselves. And that's what we've been training for a long time now. We still do the 4-man teams, and we still do that all the time, because you know what? If the heavens align and you happen to have 4 people, great. That's what we're going to do. But the reality is, it's going to be the first 1 or 2 that get there going in. If we have a school liaison officer or whatever, a lot of times now we're getting factories and businesses and that. It's going to be whoever gets there first, and go get them, literally. So that's been the law enforcement response. So what about EMS? Ever since you were baby little tiny EMS people, what's the first thing they teach you? What's the very first thing when you get on scene?
Scene safe.
Is the scene safe? Yes. That's become a problem for us a little bit. And we'll talk about that evolution here. But we are not by any means asking anybody to do something that they don't want to do. All we want to do is establish a means of getting injured people out of the building while we can save them. Okay? Some of these big incidents, it was found that people were bleeding to death from preventable injuries, and the people that can help them are standing right outside. So that's where this whole Warm Zone Rescue Task Force, those terms kind of go together. They're the same. Okay. So here's one of the big changes. So the Aurora, Colorado shooting. Did I put stats on this slide? Nope, I did not. Upside down. I can't remember the numbers. There was a lot of people hurt and killed. Almost all of the people that were transported to the hospital were transported in the back of police vehicles. because EMS, one, couldn't get close because of parking and congestion and all that kind of stuff, and two, scene wasn't safe. Can't get up in there. Even though the shooter was in custody very shortly after the incident started. And nationally, police, fire, EMS all kind of went, yeah, maybe we should look at this, okay? The Pulse nightclub shooting. So we had a debrief, were you down there when we had a debrief? We had a debrief from a couple of the SWAT guys that were in on the Pulse nightclub shooting. They did a debrief, a 3-hour, it was phenomenal to listen to those guys and all the stuff that they went through. And one of the things that made them very angry. So across the street and half a block down is a fire station. And they literally had people bleeding and dying, and they rapped on the door of the fire station and they're like, scene's not safe. We can't go in there, scene's not safe. And those cops were very passionate about it. They used a few choice words, talking about their fire service, who were their medics. And that's just the way it was. Are they doing anything wrong? No. That's just the way it was. That's the way we were trained. Is the scene safe? If it's not, you don't go anywhere near it. Okay? So it's been a shift with EMS as it has been with law enforcement. So what is Rescue Task Force? Essentially, the warm zone, and there's the definitions. If we can isolate an area where we think the bad guy is, and we can say, hey, bad guy's down on this area, let's take this other area and start getting people out. Okay? The cold zone, half mile away, out in the parking lot, wherever, where you're safe, where you're not in any danger, that's where we'd like to be. But what we want to try and transition to is if we have a pretty good idea of where that bad guy is, and we have him isolated, or maybe we even have him taken care of already, let's start in another area of the building, let's start getting these people out. Saving time, treating those preventable dying injuries, So if we have a building where we don't have any idea where the guy is, where he's just running around willy-nilly and we don't have a clue, is that something where we're going to call you and say, hey, come on, let's go? That's not a warm zone. That's a hot zone. Everything's hot. You can't go in there. We can go in there, you can. But if we have a place where we think that we've got him pinned down, we've got him in an area, a lot of times we might have them isolated into a room. We know they're in that room. And it's one of the more difficult things with active shooter is once we got him pinned down, now we got to figure out what we're gonna do with them, how we're gonna get in there. And that might take a little time, depending on if they have hostages and all that kind of stuff. Or if they've killed themselves and we don't know it. So that might take some time. And that's where we can be working on the other end of the building to get some of those people out. So here's what I'm talking about. If we've got, the graphic didn't come across real great, but if we've got a report of a shooter and they're up here in this north wing, is there any reason we can't be over here in this east wing taking people out? That's what warm zone is. That's what Rescue Task Force is. All right? Is it 100% completely safe? Nope. That's why it's the warm zone. Could somebody sneak around and get behind us and get into another part of the building? Yes. We would like to think that's not going to happen, but yes. Could there be a second shooter? Yes. We don't know that stuff. But if we are going to do something like this, we are going to be fairly confident that we've got this people pinned to an area. Okay? You guys have written policy on Rescue Task Force or Warm Zone or anything like that? I've taught this at a couple of different places, including the tech. Were you in that class? Follow your policy procedure, talk with your partners, talk with your supervisors, you know, just talk about it. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Hey, if they want us to do this and this and this, what are we going to do? Follow your policy and procedure. We don't write that stuff, all right? We're just giving you the introductory training so that we can kind of get on the same page. And follow your local law enforcement guidelines, whatever they're going to do, all right? You might not be working with us. You might be working with Berlin PD, all right? You might be, you know, someplace else working where you got a PD, you don't know those people. So have the conversation with them. You know, we all get along. When he opens the door, everybody clap. Welcome. Thank you. Have those conversations with your local cops. Hey, what do you guys do for active shooter? Have you been trained in Warm Zone? Have those conversations. I know there's some Berlin guys that have not been, because they're all like, what, 10?
Maybe 12.
I feel really old around those guys, I really do. And they're all good guys, and they've been coming to training with us, and they're moving right along. But I don't know what they've had for this stuff. Have the conversations with them. Not only is it good to know what they know, but it's also good just to help establish that relationship. Okay? Remember, direct to threat. We are going to stop the killing. Okay? We stop the killing, you stop the dying. That's the arrangement we're going to have. This is hard for us because when we go direct to threat, nothing else matters. Got to stop that shooter. So we are literally stepping over, walking by people that are hurt and injured and asking for help and crying and bleeding, and that is not in our nature to not stop for those people. But that's what we're doing because we are going direct to threat. And that's one of the reasons this Rescue Task Force is so huge. We're walking by those people. We want to know in the back of our mind, somebody's coming to help them. And they're coming fairly soon. So we're going to get to that bad guy and we're going to take care of them so that somebody can come help them. Okay? It's a tough concept. I tell you what, we did a drill up at the hospital. That's quite a few years ago now. But Bob Zaki got me volunteers. And I had so many volunteers, I didn't know what to do with them all. I had like index cards with what they're supposed to do, and yeah, I didn't have that many. So we're like, okay, if you didn't get a card, just lay in the hallway, pretend you're dead. And my guys said it was, even in a drill, no live guns, they're completely safe. They said they came around the corner in that hallway, and it was overwhelming to see that many people lying in the hallway. It's just a drill. So that's something that's going to be really tough for our guys. Really tough. Ideally, now we're going to talk about ideal. In the perfect world, how is this going to work? 3 or 4 law enforcement, 2 to 4 fire EMS. Now, why do I put fire in there? We don't want those hose monkeys touching our patients, right? You don't, trust me, you don't. And I can say that because I've done that for longer than I've done this for. In an agency like ours, the sizes of the agencies like ours, we're going to need their help. We just are going to need help moving people. Unless you guys want to carry everybody, because we got guns, so we're tied up. We're going to need that fire to help just with the logistics of moving patients. Okay, so that's why we did this at all the fire departments. So ideally, 3 to 4 law enforcement, 2 to 4 EMS. In the real world, what are we probably going to have? 2 and 2? Most likely. Remember also that we're probably not talking SWAT response. This is going to be your general road guys. Now, most of you might not know the difference between our SWAT guys and our non-SWAT guys. The cool thing is we train our guys so well that I could probably take any one of our road guys that's not on SWAT and stick them on somebody else's SWAT team and they would excel because of the training that we do. Okay, we train all our people the same. The SWAT guys just get a few extra toys and a few extra hours to train. So that's the cool thing about our area is they might not be SWAT guys, but they're going to have a lot of the similar training. Okay. Not me. Okay, I got a couple of videos. They're both fairly short, 2, 3, 4 minutes. So if I got to exit out of this to make it work. That did not do it. I have no idea how this volume is going to be. That's not playing. Sorry. Hold on. I think after all this time I did not have technical difficulties anymore. No. How is that happening? That looks better.
We got one down right here to the left, 2 down, 2 down, 1 to the right.
RTF stands for Rescue Task Force. The point is that you've got a group of firefighters in ballistic gear, ballistic helmets, and then specialized medical equipment that are going to go be paired with law enforcement officers from the Spokane Police Department. It'll be able to go into an active threat area like a shooting or an explosive event and get our medical treatment personnel up to the scene much quicker than we have been able to in the past.
Command from RTF 15. Go ahead, keep breathing. Got 4 wounded, further down the hallway on the left-hand side. 1 critical, 2 yellow.
Historically, we always waited back 2 blocks away, waited for law enforcement to come in, clear the entire area of threats and assailants of any kind before fire or EMS even enters the area. And historically, what that's done for us is just our victims inside who've already been injured, they're bleeding out and expiring before we can even get there and provide them any care.
Yes, start a second medic team in here. Any double breathing left? No. Good. Make sure we got 3 stretchers.
The idea of Rescue Task Force has come from a lot of things we've seen in the past. Columbine High School shootings, Aurora Theater shooting, even the Boston bombings. We've seen how people have been injured in areas that are still a threat area, and we're not able to get emergency care to them right away. So law enforcement has changed their tactics to very strongly get inside and stop the threats as they're coming. And we need to keep up with that now and get our medical people inside those threat areas as soon as possible to start treating the people at the point of wounding care, the spot where they're actually shot, and we can do the most amount of care to save their lives down the road.
We got red here. Okay. Everybody ready to go? Yeah. Okay, security. We're ready to roll.
We've trained extensively at this point with patrol, with SWAT team. A lot of law enforcement has seen what we're hopefully capable of doing, and we're getting a lot of buy-in and cooperation through their departments as well. So gunshot wound to the chest heals on the front and back. Look for that exit wound. Okay? Get them covered up. assess for difficulty breathing. If you're having difficulty breathing, you can press the chest.
One victim, 2 rooms over. Tell me when it's clear.
A lot of the focuses that we're having in our trainings are two kind of different situations. One is working within a tactical unit in order for us to safely and securely get into a threat area. And then the second part, we are building on our medical knowledge and training to more effectively very dangerous injuries that people are going to have inside the scenes. So we've been training with tactical movements, using ballistic equipment to keep ourselves in protection. Communication is a big issue, communicating with the police back and forth so that we know when it is okay for us to come into a scene and how to get into one of the scenes. And then when we're there, dealing with mass casualty incidents where normally we're used to 3 or 4 firefighters treating one patient, it's totally flip-flopped. Now we've got one person treating 4 or 5 casualties. And that's a big change in our paradigm of how we treat patients. Our kind of key founding idea is that we want to identify our patients and find them, and then treat and stabilize them as quickly as we can and move on to the next person. The key is to get it to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, in order to save as many people as we can. Not focus on the one or first patient we come to. We want to get through as many people as we can, and once we're out of medical equipment or we're out of patients, we're going to turn around and begin evacuating those patients to definitive care in hospitals.
Okay, the last guy. That's it. We're good.
Okay, I got one more video. So, this video was, that one was from 2016.
Is that Jason Cruise's brother?
This one's from
Milwaukee Police and Firefighters,
2014.
a vacant school proved the perfect place to learn.
They actually practiced what they would do if they had to search for a gunman in the building.
Michelle Fiore was there and watched as it happened. Michelle?
Steve Carroll, the Milwaukee Fire and Milwaukee Police Departments got together at this old building for some new training. They walked the halls of the former Edison Middle School, putting themselves in the scenario of an active shooter.
I'm losing blood.
They moan, cry out, and wait for help. But with past protocol, paramedics can't get to victims until police clear every room and take the gunman into custody. Chiefs Ed Flynn and Mark Rolfing agree that needs to change. The idea of sending paramedics into a hostile situation originated after the movie theater shooting in Aurora, Colorado.
We also learned from Aurora that obviously waiting for a scene to be completely secure before medical personnel entered the scene was a risk to patients and to casualties.
Milwaukee is now leading the way with this new protocol. They're training to send paramedics into an active shooter situation with police protection, even if the shooter is not yet in custody.
I think that we try to remind them that it's no more on the front line going into a building to provide medical care in this situation as it is carrying a hose line into a burning building.
They call this the diamond formation. It is 4 medics surrounded by 4 officers. They move swiftly from room to room. In this training session, the diamond formations startled as shots ring out on another floor. They learn to react just as they would in a real-life scenario. This is just one day of training. Now, classes like this will continue here through May, when a total of 830 firefighters and nearly 1,800 police officers will have been trained this way. Live on the north side, Michelle Fiore, today's TMJ4.
Even as a simulation like this, it's just chill.
I'm glad I don't have 800 people to train. I'd rather just talk to you guys. So that's the quick and dirty. That's what it looks like. Okay? It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. This is the big thing. We need to talk to each other. All right? Think of a good car crash. All right? Where somebody's got to get cut out of the car. I know when I'm on a crash with fire, okay, different hat, okay? When I'm on a crash with fire, I'm in his back pocket. What do you need? What do we need next? What can I do for you? How are we doing? Can I move this? Okay? That's what I want to know. Because everything I do is going to be based on what you guys are doing. All right? In this one, it's roles reversed a little bit. Okay? Because we're going to be the ones out front with the guns moving. we need to talk. If you guys are moving a patient, if we're going too fast, too slow, we need to know that stuff. Okay? And it can't be just a reach up and pull. Okay? Jason and I are moving down the hallway. Okay? I'm moving down the hallway. What happens if he pulls on me? Okay? If bad guy's coming out and I'm just putting him in my sights and he pulls on me, that's a really bad thing. This stuff isn't really good. Okay? And it might be chaotic, it might be loud, there's probably fire alarms going off, the floors might be wet, there might be people screaming. So, it seems very simple, but this might be tough. Alright? Too fast, too slow, we need to stop. Maybe you need to adjust the tourniquet, maybe you need to add a tourniquet. Okay, whatever you gotta do. Let them know. Let them know patient info. Hey, this guy's doing okay. We can take our time a little bit with this guy. Or we need to hurry. This is critical, we need to do this now. Now, we're going to move only as fast as we can shoot. Alright? And that means, alright, you see us walking heel to toe, because I don't need, that gun can't move. Can't move. Because I have to be able to shoot accurately. We train that all the time on the range. All the time we train how to shoot and move. Treatment narrative. Okay? If I'm standing there and you guys are behind me, tell me what's going on. Alright? I don't know everything you guys know, but I know how to put on a tourniquet, and I know that, holy cow, there's massive bleeding, we need more of this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. When I hear that stuff, and I maybe know now that we're getting close to having to move, talk it out. Talk to your partner, talk to yourself. You're not talking to yourself because you're talking to us. We have to let you know as well. Okay? If I'm standing there and all of a sudden in my ear, wearing your earpiece? In my ear, I'm hearing information that makes me go, uh-oh. I'm going to let you know. Hey, we might have to move. Remember, they're not going to look at you. Okay? Don't be offended when somebody doesn't look at you when they're talking, because my eyes need to be here. So I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to tell you, hey, back there, we might have to move. We're going to have to duck into a classroom because the person is moving. Okay. When I do SWAT trainings, if the guy out front does one of these, I shoot him in the ass with an airsoft gun. So they learn real quick not to turn their head.
I can attest to that fact personally.
One of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
Trust each other. Remember that you don't have the same info. We don't have the same info you have. We both need each other, and it moves a lot better if we both talk about it. Move off the X. All right? If we get into a situation where things are getting ugly, we do not want to be here. Wherever here is not good, it's dangerous, we want to be away from there. That's why this stuff is all rapid. What do we do inside the warm zone for interventions? Tourniquet.
Open air.
Airway, I'll go with that. What was that?
Chest wound.
Sucking
Like
chest,
head
direct pressure bandages, maybe Israeli bandage, something like that. It's pretty limited. Otherwise, it's just moving. Get them going. Throw a tourniquet on, throw a pressure dressing on, and let's go. Anything else, we're not going to have time for. Now, if the situation dictates that, hey, we've only got 2 patients, we've only got 2 patients that we can find, and, one of them's a minor injury and this one is critical, and now maybe you can work that person. Okay? Tools. Our guys have all of this stuff. Alright? Every guy has at least 1 tourniquet on them. Many of them have 2. they have at least 2 more. If they're SWAT guys, they'll have at least 2 more in the car. Many of them have 3 or 4. That's just the way it is, and that's every squad. Okay? In the SWAT truck, we've got some extras as well. I know I've got one that I wear on my vest. I've got one in the door of my truck. I've got one in my active shooter rig. I've got one in my TAC vest. And one in, well, yeah. So-
Heather and I bumped, in the SWAT truck, we bumped the numbers of all those way up.
Yeah. So, this is the stuff we're going to rely on. Hemostatic agent. All of our guys have a thigh rig. All the SWAT guys have a thigh rig that's got this stuff in it. Hemostatic agent, tourniquet, pressure dressing, pair of gloves. The SWAT guys have decompression needles. Do our guys do decompression?
Of course not.
They are not trained via YouTube to do that. I told them if I'm laying there and can't breathe, you better stick me with that thing. What's that designed for is so that when you guys show up on scene, it's there for them. Okay? Not all the guys have that, just the SWAT guys. So this is the stuff that we have. You guys have bags in your rigs?
No, we got
No?
rid of those a long time ago. We bumped up our mass casualty kit that's in Med 1, well, it was in Med 1. But those bags all of a sudden just kept getting nitpicked
Picked
through.
over.
So,
Whatever works for you guys. You gotta have supplies. I mean, we'll have a bunch, but you shouldn't rely on us. Response kits, vests and helmets. I would love to someday see you guys have enough money to get vests and helmets. I talked to the one supplier that we have, and he said he sells more vests for fire than he does for police. So that's something that eventually down the road here, and if, we rotate through them pretty quickly, and if we've got some, I don't see why we can't hand them down. They might be expired, but just like anything else that expires, I take it every time. So yeah, we have all that stuff. Pretty much all of our guys carry kits of some kind. Go bags. That's, you can see in the picture there, that's our new fearless leader. He took my spot. This kit right here, it was designed that if you're injured, you can get at it with either hand. So if I've got a hand injury, I can still get at it. A lot of teams keep them on their back, and if this hand goes down, I might not be able to reach. And it's in the same exact spot on every single guy. So if Jason finds me and I'm down, he can use my kit on me. His kit's for him. That's what it's designed for. Different stuff that you might see. Shields, rifles, all right? Pretty much guarantee you're going to see that stuff. In the county, we have a shield in every single squad. Every squad has a soft shield in it. The PDs all have a shield in one of their squads. So you're going to see that. You're going to see shields. You're going to see rifles. You're going to see things that you're not used to seeing. Chem lights, I put that on there specifically. Some of the guys, I know like in my active shooter rig, I carry chem lights. Chem lights are markers. So if I see something that I want to make sure someone else sees, I will crack and throw down a chem light. What is it? Don't know. Maybe that's maybe we're marking that as a point of no return. You get to the chem light, you're done. Don't go any further. Maybe there's an explosive in that area. Crack the chem light, lay it down, we're not going near that area. Or maybe I just used it as a marker for Jason. He's coming in behind me, hey Jason, I threw a chem light down, take a left at the chem light, and then come down the hallway towards me. Okay? Another reason why we need to communicate. If you see a chem light and you don't have any idea why it's there, just go, oh, okay. you know, maybe take an extra look around. Okay.
I'll be quick.
Just to make sure there's nothing dangerous there.
It's like, oh, they must be a path.
Can only move as fast as we can accurately. Shoot, stay close, don't wander. All right. One of the things when we've done training with this stuff in the past is we like to keep everybody huddled pretty tight. We don't want anybody wandering off. Okay. Don't get out and be walking on the side of the hallway. All right. One of the things I love is when we get into our position. All right. So in firearms, Jason is our firearms instructor. He teaches us knees bent, feet shoulder width apart, and we're going to move, all right? And we step and we move. So we're naturally crouched, and I love it when we start doing rescue task force stuff, everybody crouches. Just because it's the thing to do, okay? And nobody wants their head sticking up above everybody else, so it makes sense. Crouching is definitely okay, all right? We just talked about that. Do not pull on. Contact is good, all right? Jason likes it. Not just Jason, all of us. He likes this. He likes to know that I'm here because then he doesn't have to turn his head. He doesn't have to, as soon as I break contact, he's thinking, oh shit, where'd they go? Where'd they go? How far back are they? Okay, in our shields, our hard shields for the SWAT team, we got mirrors mounted up above. So the guy with the shield can just look up like this and quick glance and make sure everybody's behind him. When we don't have that shield, we can't do that. So contact is good. This or this is not. Okay? Just in case we gotta shoot. Cover versus concealment. Anybody know the difference besides Damien?
Josh.
And Josh. Cover versus concealment. Cover is something that will protect you from a flying projectile. All right? Concealment is something that will hide you from being seen. Think of a tornado. Do you want cover or do you want concealment? Okay? You want cover, and it's the same thing here. And what's important to know about that is, we were golfing, I was golfing with Keener one time, and we were on the tee box, and the guy was out mowing, and he cruised over and he parked behind a bush. And I said to Jeff, watch this, I'm going to teach this guy the difference between cover and concealment, because he is not behind cover, he's behind that bush. So, what's important to know about that for you guys is, if something goes bad, and we need to get you to safety, we are going to cover. All right? There may be something there that's like, oh yeah, we could hide behind that, they couldn't see us. Nope, we don't want that. We're going to cover. All right? It's tough for us to teach that to young guys. All right? Everybody wants to use their car doors. All right? Hide behind my car door. Nope. Car doors are not cover. They are concealment, because bullets go through and through that. All right? I've seen it myself. May move to a casualty collection point. CCP. We got all these people. We got to have some place to put them. All right? If we don't have a place immediately outside where we can start loading them into rigs, we may have to have a casualty collection point someplace in the building so that we can bring them into. Where we can get more people in there to help treat them and to help move them. Okay? Here's a good, another good diagram. So, shooter, contact team, victim, rescue task force, and over there we've got a casualty collection point. You'd like to have your casualty collection point closer to a door, or at least a stairway, someplace where they're eventually coming out, right? So you want to try and keep that close if you can. In this, they show their resupply boxes and stuff in their casualty collection point. I mean, you kind of set that up as your secondary triage area, because you're going to triage immediately, right? Right on scene. I mean, right there, you're going to triage. You may have a secondary triage at your casualty collection point. Tools for moving. All right, that little roll-up stretcher there, when it's rolled up it looks like that, and then unrolled it looks like that. We have several of those in the SWAT truck. They work really nice. For you guys, Mega movers. They work outstanding. We use them in the jail for search stuff. We've got one in the SWAT truck just for stuff like this. They're outstanding, especially when you get on floors like this, because you don't have to lift people. Throw them on, drag them. Okay? If you're in a school or if you're in a large building with nice smooth floors, and that's exactly what they're doing there. They're showing the guys with the Mega Mover dragging. Walking wounded, get them out of there however you can. All right? Physically exhausting. Moving patients like this will be physically exhausting. Hopefully you do have the smooth floor so you can just drag them. Our guys train, we all have rescue straps. I was going to bring mine, I forgot. It's just some normal rescue tubing, water rescue. Tie a water knot in one end, put it on a carabiner. And that's what we use that for all kinds of stuff. If Jason's in that hallway and he's down, I can throw it to him and I can drag him back. If he's lying down, happens every time.
Attention Greenland Tower and Greenland first responders, your call is to 581 South Mill Street and 581 South Mill Street for a 76-year-old female who fell and hit her head. She is bleeding slightly from the cut on her head, but she's conscious and alert. Again, a 76-year-old female who fell and hit her head.
There you go. So we'll take that strap and we'll wrap it around their shoulders or through an arm or clip it on the back of his vest and use it as a drag. And we have actually practiced where if we've got the person here, we'll hook them to a drag and then we'll move while dragging them with gun up. So we've practiced that with the SWAT team several times.
That sucks.
It does suck, it's not good at all. But we don't have another option. And all of our SWAT guys, does everybody have one of those in their go bag?
Yeah, everybody has one on their rig and then at least one in the go bags also.
Some other things to consider when getting to a scene. We don't know who you are, all right? And I could sit here and look at you guys, and if we had something 2 days from now and you showed up in your jeans and t-shirt and said, hey, I'm here to help, I would probably not know who you are. There's too much rolling around. So consider having your ID. I love a t-shirt, you know, as simple as it is, a t-shirt with your logo or something explaining who you are can save a little bit of time. Please remember to follow the chain of command and do not self-dispatch. Don't just show up, okay? Because remember, this is warm zone. You may be showing up to a hot zone and it might be more of a problem for you to be there because we want you guys to be safe. What about call and dispatch? Yeah. One of the trainings I went to, they talked about Columbine, and in the first, I want to say it was in the first 3 hours of Columbine that their dispatch center fielded 10,000 calls or something like that. Ridiculous amounts of calls. So they're going to be tough to get through to, especially until they can get some more help in there and get all the frequencies covered. But keep that in mind. CCW issues, I don't know what your work policy is, but we would prefer if you did not have them. We just don't want, we're not against CCW by any means. We like good people having guns. But we don't want to introduce another gun into a situation. We don't want somebody mistaking you for a bad guy, and I mean, we don't need that. So if you are by chance carrying, keep it in your pants.
You guys have extras, right?
Oh, we got them all over the place.
Whatever ones are laying on the ground as you go along, just try to pick them up.
Okay. Any questions? Concerns, comments, problems? Very simple. one in front, one in back, and you do your work in the middle. And as we move, we're gonna move, all right? If we need to slow down, you're gonna slow us down. Hey, we gotta slow down. All right? If you're pushing, we might say, hey, we have to slow down. We can't go that fast. And if you're pushing and you wanna go faster, tell us why you wanna go faster. Hey, this guy's bleeding out. He's not gonna make it if you don't move faster. And we can sometimes pick up the pace. Okay. In years past, we'd always get a couple of SWAT guys, and we'd go out in the rig room and we'd kind of drag people around a little bit, but I got no help. I got 3 guys in advanced SWAT training. One's on vacation, another's in another training up in Green Bay, so I got nobody. I got Jason.
And I got ordered in tonight, so.
He's on mandatory overtime. And most of you guys have done that already anyway, so we can skip that. I think the videos and everything shows it pretty well. You guys get a pretty good idea of what it's supposed to look like. Is it always gonna look like that? Nope. Because we're probably only gonna have 2 guys, and you might only have 1. Hopefully you get 2 at least, but you know how it works. But we'll do what we can, and the important thing is that we talk and get it done. Okay. Questions, issues, problems, concerns?
Radio traffic, are you still going to be using a tactical channel?
Probably not. So what I imagine would happen is the first in direct-to-threat team, the contact team, would likely snag the sheriff's office frequency and lock it down and not allow any other radio traffic, which would, what we would normally do, would move to EMS channel. However, this is an EMS incident, so that's not going to work out. So it'll be some confusion at the beginning, but once we settle into a channel, then we'll figure it out. We might have to use one of the mutual aid channels we have. Or maybe even fire channels. The nice thing about our radios is we got everything. So if we decide we want to go to, take EMS and go to Fireground Blue for Rescue Task Force, we could do that if we need to. The good thing with this is there shouldn't be a lot of radio traffic with this, because we're moving in, we're staying with you. You shouldn't be out of speaking distance. So, but yeah, calling back to the rig and finding out if you've got rigs, and and we should probably go through that again sometime. But so like for me, Green Lake Fire, I've got a life safety MABUS card. So my life safety MABUS card, if I pulled that to the 6th box level, that would get me, I believe, 14 ambulances, 2 helicopters, a school bus, 4 engines. I'd have to look at it for sure, but it's something in that neighborhood. And that's one call. Hey, I want the life safety card to this box level, and they go to it. That my card at least is done strategically, so that I don't take every ambulance from an area. So some of them are coming from further away, Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, Waupun, whatever, as to not take everybody from out of one area. That's my card. They might not all be like that, but just so you guys know, we do have that set up, and if we had an incident, we could call that, and they would immediately begin dispatching, calling those ambulances to be on their way. So don't be surprised if there's an incident like this, and you turn around, and there's a Brooks ambulance, or a Gold Cross, or where the hell did you guys come from? Well, they're on the card.
Question, so if that would happen and we all get paged out and we have our staging area, your first team's gonna go into the hot zone, do you radio us EMS then and say, report to this door, and you're gonna go in with us as we start to get there?
It would probably be relayed through dispatch.
Dispatch, okay.
Because our first guys are gonna stay on their channel. Hey, you know, we've got the shooter pinned down, you know, in the north wing. So then that's gonna get relayed over. Somebody, one of the road guys right there is probably gonna say, okay, get me EMS to door 13, we're gonna start, you know, removing patients. Something like that is how I imagine it will go. And we practice this stuff every December. We do training, active shooter training countywide. We get one of the schools and we go in and we do everybody in the county. And we've had EMS there several times in the past to practice a little bit of this stuff. Probably would be a bad idea to do it this year because we've got so many young guys.
Yep.
So we might ask you for a crew that night to play for a while. And we don't always practice radio traffic. We try to, but it's communication is always going to be an issue. It just is. It always is. Because people don't communicate when they should, and they should when they shouldn't. So that's just the way it is. And it's something you got to fight through. It's frustrating. Trust me, I really know how that is. Especially in an incident like this, because it is literally life and death info that you need. But stick with it. That's how I imagine it would go. Good questions, yes?
And you think about it, most of that conversation, most of that stuff's gonna happen verbal, face-to-face.
Face-to-face.
Because you're gonna be in the staging area, the extra officers that are being called in for the RTF are gonna be in the staging area. You're probably gonna get together there, have your team, and then deploy to whatever warm zone that, or where it is.
Yep.
So even EMS is not gonna be on the radio very much. Communication, how many patients, like the video and stuff like that, it's gonna be dragging them out once they're at the casualty collection point.
Yeah, and especially one of the funny things with us, as small as we are, who the hell are you gonna call?
Yeah.
You don't have it, there's nobody sitting back. I mean, we're gonna have everybody we can get up there moving people for us. So it's not like somebody's gonna be sitting there with a radio, initially anyway. Hopefully, eventually that happens. You get an incident command, unified command set up. But initially, early on, we just don't have the people for that.
And most likely to work, like you'll go in first, you'll get your set of people that you can carry, bring them back out. You're gonna be the treatment for them until the ambulances come. The next people coming in are gonna be the next people going in. Because you don't wanna be just dragging people in and out the whole time. You're gonna be wasted in no
Well, but that's
time.
what you had said though.
Or if we get a casualty collection point,
I was
you
gonna
know,
say, you said that we wanna remove and then you treat. It's
Yes.
removal first.
you treat the down and dirty and then go. Yep.
Yeah, but once you drag your people out to the cold area, most likely there'll be more people ready to go. If not, then yeah, you go back and get more.
That's the plan anyway.
Yeah, yes, exactly, but.
You know, do a rotation if you can. And so that life safety card is just not an active shooter thing. That's, you know, if we get a school bus, if we get a, you know,
Tornado.
a tornado, a deck collapses or something like that. I mean, something weird. And what I did on my card is I actually listed behind each box level how many patients. So if it's, our fire guys can look at it and go 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, you know, more than 15. So they can just make the call, but they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, we need box level 3. And that's gonna get us how many ambulances. So, but we really should go through that card because my guess is I've probably got ambulance services on there that don't exist anymore.
That could be. Or that will not give resources.
Or that will not give.
As much as you probably have planned.
Right.
Because they don't have them anymore.
Right. So just know that that is out there too. What's that?
It's called a pass. We'll pass, pass.
We know what that is. We've had to do that a bunch of times. When there's two of us sitting here looking at each other going, I guess we're going to pass on this one.
What 3 jobs are you going to do? I'll do the other 4. All right.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you guys coming.
Again, always, if you guys ever have questions, any of our guys, grab them and ask the question. They're not opposed to answering.